Well, the sports editor is absolutely delighted to have Simon Hom with us today, a person who comes with an interesting story and I think a real awesome reputation for playing cricket the way it should be played, I believe. But Simon signed for Essex in 2017 and made an immediate impact, breaking records and taking best figures of 14 for 128, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been really great to chat to Simon. Simon, thank you so much for your time. And as I mentioned, interesting career, but you started off with an absolute bang when you joined Essex, and they won the championships after 25 years. Couldn't ask for a better start.
Yeah, I think coming from South Africa, from the Warriors, we obviously hadn't won a hell of a lot or anything. Not by lack of effort, but sometimes first-class cricket can be a tough scene. We didn't perhaps have the right sort of things in place, whether that be players or management or structures, administrator, whatever it may have been. And then, kind of feel like I fell with my arse in the butter at Essex, walking into a change room with guys like Ryan Tenduscarter, Ravi Bopara, Sir Alistair Cook, Tom Westley. So it was kind of like quite surreal. Something like people that you'd known a lot about, to then be sitting sharing a beer, chewing the fat with guys like that. But to win the trophy in my first year of the county championship, I don't think I quite understood what it meant, the tradition of county cricket and the members and just everything that is county cricket. So I think it hit home in 2019 when we won it again. But I think incredibly lucky to sort of have the season that we had and for things to fall into place the way that they did.
Excellent, man. But tell me, did you have another fellow South African with you there on the coaching side of things in Andre Null?
Yeah, Nala joined us in I think it started the 2019 season.
Okay.
And he was with us with 3 seasons. So good to have a fellow South African.
Yeah, passionate to say the least. But anyway, let's carry on with your career. But your first season was fantastic. You took 72 wickets. I think you blew everyone away, Simon. Really good to see. Did you have like a secret ball or something that no one knew about? What led to your success?
Like all the feedback that I got is that the ball doesn't spin, and I was under no illusions. I didn't know if I was going to get there. I was only playing one format for the Warriors at the time, so I thought maybe I'd miss out the first couple of games. And then I was told June, July, August, that's when the wickets are a bit dry, start to turn. So I was like, ease my way in. Wasn't expecting to play too much cricket at the start. But I went to, when I fell out of favour with the selectors in 2015 with the national selectors, I gave one of my good mates a call who's a sort of fitness trainer and owns his own CrossFit gym. I gave him a shout and I said, look, I want to leave no stone unturned. I really want to give this a good shot. So started working with him, and I flew over to India in 2016 to work with a guy by the name of Umesh Patwal, who I'd met on sort of national spin camps that we had been on to Mumbai and Colombo, and he was sort of one of the guys there, and kind of struck up a relationship with him, went to work with him. And I think that first season, after I'd put in like all this fitness work, getting strong, making sure I was in the shape of my life, going to India, working with this guy, and I was getting absolutely murdered. Sort of nothing really came together, and I was like, I've done all this hard work, and it was so frustrating for me because I think sometimes you just expect that, like, if you do all this extra work and you put in all the effort, that you're going to see results immediately. And professional sport doesn't necessarily always work that way. And I think it really took a couple of years for me to start reaping the rewards. And it was really that first season going to Essex and understanding so much more about spin bowling, about my body, how to manage myself, different grips, different variations, just the little sort of idiosyncrasies of off-spin bowling that I think really helped me in that first season and adjusting to the Duke ball and different conditions.
Sure. Well, Simon, that's so great to hear, because it just seems like you were able to just get those finer things right, and then eventually, boom, here we are. And then it led to best figures of 9 for 80, if I've got my stats correct. And like I mentioned before, 14 for 28 in a match. And it's a bit of luck combined with the hard work that you mentioned earlier. Is that what eventually gets results? Yes, hard work, but you've got to have a bit of luck on the way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think professional sport is about luck. It's about being in the right place at the right time. And, you know, we could look back at my career at Essex, and if I had signed for Durham or for Hampshire or somewhere else, it could be a completely different conversation. I might not be on this podcast, and I might not sort of have created the waves through performances at Essex that I have. So it is 100% about a bit of luck, whether that be in an individual game, in a spell, or just in your career in general. I think you can attribute a lot to luck.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd like to touch on South Africa, if you don't mind, Simon. And I think it's always a tough one to start at first, but I think as years have gone on, you've handled it. But the first question is, it was a difficult situation, but do you believe you turned that around and made it actually work for you?
Yeah, I think I'm the type of character where if you sort of push me into a corner, I'm going to come back fighting. That's just my character. I think guys that I've played with and people that know me well understand that I'm very passionate. I'm very competitive. And so, you know, sometimes bad news is the best news, and sort of leaving South Africa, going to the UK, falling out of favor with the national side, like all these opportunities were then created where, you know, if I hadn't have decided to make those type of decisions, then I would not be sitting where we're sitting today. So I definitely think that that character, the pressure of going to England, only being on a 6-month deal and having to prove myself, obviously helped me a lot to sort of get me in the right frame of mind, to get that competitiveness out of me, and to sort of put my best foot forward. I've always been of the opinion that I've just needed a shop window to showcase like what I'm about, and Essex were kind enough to give that to me.
No, it's awesome to hear, Simon. Really, really good. But I think it also sort of adds value in the sense that it gives you confidence, but also your value as a spin bowler is increased, and your value to your team is so much more. Do you agree with that in a sense, because you've been through so much and you've gained so much resilience, if I can use that word? You just add so much more value in terms of actual bowling and to your side.
Yeah, I think it does sort of give you perspective. With like, while you're bowling, I used to be on the field and I wouldn't be bowling well, and I'd be like, I'm not going to play the next game, I'm going to be dropped. And this is like an over or 2 overs into a spell, whether that be in a 4-day game or a T20 game. And like your mental state is so different. You're always fighting to sort of just keep your head above water. So yes, it did sort of attribute, but not always positively. I don't think it's always a good state of mind to be in, where you're playing for a place in the team or being in that sort of situation. And I think in terms of the team aspect, I think Essex probably gave me more than I gave them at that stage of my career. I fell in love with cricket again. I really enjoyed the way that Essex went about their cricket. I grew up at Pretoria High School Old Boys, and it was kind of like win or lose, shoot the booze. You played harder on the field, but after the game, you would all sit down together, and whether we won or lost, we would have a couple of beers. We'd laugh about what happened on the field, good or bad, and everybody would leave there. You wouldn't leave and phone a guy and be like, geez, I can't believe that I dropped the catch, because it was kind of dealt with in a fines meeting or just in terms of like the banter within the group. And, you know, I walked into Essex and there was like a very similar feel, obviously a lot more professional, but it was just like a bunch of mates that got together a few times a week to play cricket. That's how it felt to me. And it was so overwhelming to come from a completely different environment in South Africa to walk into this. Like, this is what I envision cricket to be like. This is what it should be like. So for me, it was really refreshing, and I think exactly what I needed at that point in time.
Definitely. Well, yeah, Simon, I mean, it's never nice being dropped for from the national side when you've actually done well. You're doing everything right. So yeah, to take it like you did is, yeah, it's a lot of character, I'd say. But now you are currently playing for the Titans and enjoying the new franchise system. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think there's a lot been said about the new franchise system. I think it does create more opportunity. It does at a higher level. The franchise system had its benefits as it had its shortcomings, and I think this sort of new format is going to have similar attributes, shortcomings and positives. But I think it's creating more opportunity, and especially in terms of transforming our sport, in terms of developing young players of color, it does give them more opportunity to compete at the highest level. And then also with the promotion relegation, you can't just have teams languishing at the bottom and there not really being too many consequences for that. So in that aspect, I think it's going to be very good. Obviously, this season is still kind of feeling it out, and from the end of next season, those sort of things would come into play. But I think the feel and the competitiveness of next season will be a lot more and a lot different to what it is this season. So yeah, it's been good. We've got an incredible bunch of guys at the Titans, a really good change room. We haven't maybe put our best foot forward, but such as sort of sport and the way it goes, we've just got to sort of keep learning, keep building, keep trying to add the right elements to our games, and hopefully we can replicate some of the success that the franchise had in that franchise era.
Nah, definitely a proper setup there. But now you've played both, obviously in the UK, the championship there is now in South Africa. Any sort of similarities, or are they still very different in terms of the makeup, how the guys approach the game, or is it quite similar to what you've experienced in the UK in terms of this new system?
In terms of the system, it's similar, but I think it's two very different games of cricket. In the UK, you've got guys that bowl 120 to 135 Ks an hour. They're bowling with the Duke ball. It swings for 80 overs. It sometimes nips for 80 overs. It's completely different. They don't need to bowl 140, 150. Whereas if you rock up at Supersport Park or at the Wanderers and you bowl 125 Ks an hour and the ball's not swinging, you're going to get murdered. So it is a different dynamic compared to the county system. It's obviously a lot warmer playing cricket here than it is over there. But yeah, it's got its nuances and differences. But yeah, I think it's tough to sort of draw comparisons.
Yeah, well, it's true. I think that's what makes every league unique, I guess, in its sense. So that I guess it is an attractive point, whether way which you look at it. But 726 first-class wickets. I mean, for the 850 mark, or is that a goal of yours?
I think more 1,000. That's kind of where I was looking at. I thought if I could sort of get to 1,000 wickets, that would be a hell of an accomplishment. I think the way that the last few years have gone, if I was to finish on 1,000, it might be a little bit disappointing. So especially playing back-to-back seasons, you're playing a lot of cricket. So yeah, we'll see how things go. Take nothing for granted. But yeah, it would be really nice to get past that 1,000 wicket mark.
Definitely. I will come back to that, but I just want to ask you, because you also mentioned back-to-back seasons. So how does it work for you, Simon? When will you leave South Africa, when you arrive in the UK, and when you come back to South Africa? It's a busy time for you. Do you get a bit of a break? How does it all unfold for you?
Yeah, I try and find pockets in the season. I'm very much the light switch is either on or off. This boils down to my character. I'm either 100% invested or not at all. So when I get away from cricket, I really try and get away from cricket. I don't want to see cricket bats or balls or so yeah, there's sort of obviously the changeover in seasons, either that March, April period or September, October period, where I'll try and get a week to 10 days to just like really get away from everything. But yeah, our fixtures have just been announced for the county season. So we kick off against Kent on the 7th of April.
Okay.
So I'll try and look to sort of get back towards the end of March. also eyeing out sort of, if I can, a little bit of a break before I go back into the season. We start the county season with 6 4-day games in 6 weeks. So it's going to be a tough start, but hopefully I'll be ready for it and fresh enough to put my best foot forward.
No, excellent. But just your thoughts on this as well, because the way I'm seeing, guys are playing older and older and older, and they're 37, 38, and they're still dominating. Is your plan to just also push on for as long as possible and play as many formats as you can?
Yeah, like I'm a elite sports junkie, and the whole thing with Tom Brady. I'm obsessed with like American sport, and so I've been watching. There's a new documentary of his called Man in the Arena, and like he speaks about it. But like obviously I want to try and play for as long as I can. I don't want to sort of fade away. I'd like to be able to say, okay, you know what, I've had my time in the sun, and it's time for somebody else to come through now. But if I'm still performing and still putting in performances like he is at his age, then happy days. But I think every sportsman knows when that sort of grim reaper, so to speak, comes knocking on your door. You kind of know when it's time. So I'm pretty sure I'll know when it's time to sort of close the door.
I think it's Darren Stevens. He's 45, 46. Is it?
Yeah.
No, his grim reaper's obviously flipping far away. Maybe you can ask him for 1 or 2 tips, because I don't know how that
100%. 100%.
how he does it. It's crazy, actually. But anyway.
Yeah.
So, Simon, you've been through a lot. You've done well. You've taken wickets. You've averaged 19.9 at some 19.19 some seasons. You've taken 80 plus wickets in a season. It's been brilliant. Do you feel that also creates a bit of a presence you have? When Simon's here, hey, things are going to happen. Do you feel that is a bit of a presence you do create in the change room, on the field, with Sussex and the Titans?
I think at Essex I do, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, and it's not always a good thing. I always demand like a certain level of, whether it be professionalism or performance, or but I hope that by doing that, I'm lifting guys up and I'm trying to make them better. That it's only coming from a good place. That the only reason that I'm putting pressure on you, or I have a go to you, whatever the case may be, is because I think you could be so much better. And I hope that every change room environment that I walk into, that I have that sort of impact, that I can somehow take that change room for what it is and make it, even if it's 1% better. You want to leave the place better off than it was when you got there. And I hope that I've done that with Essex, and I hope that in time to come, that the change rooms that I walk into, that I can also bring an aspect of trying to uplift people, or to try and make people better. Maybe uplift is the wrong word, upskill, whatever it may be. But, create that competition within training and push guys to be better, and to try and find that 1%, or to have the mindset when you come to training, leave training better than you were when you got there. Just like, you always look at the end goals and the big things, but it's those little things that you do day to day that end up all adding up. Like, I don't know, you can see that it's quite a passionate thing for me, and I love sort of being involved and being within a team. Hopefully I do sort of add a little bit here and there.
No, without a doubt, Simon. Definitely. It's awesome to see, man. But obviously a bit of red ball cricket, and there's going to be a bit of white ball cricket happening along the way. As a spinner, and obviously you've got to throw in that you can bat a bit. No, I'm joking. You bat very, very well, Simon.
And that's a fair comment at this day and age.
Well, about 24 first class half centuries. It's decent. Come on, man.
Yeah. I'm doing the opposite of a fine wine. I'm going the other way. So I've been working hard to sort that out.
Oh, there we go. That's excellent, man. But in terms of white ball cricket, and I think it took a lot of people by surprise, because I think there was a thought at one stage where spinners are going to get really taken apart when it comes to the shorter format, T10, T20 cricket. Have the guys really had to change their approach to the game, and have spinners actually become even more valuable in the shorter format of the game?
Yeah, I think, spinners, especially wrist spinners, perhaps not so much orthodox spinners, have always been an asset within T20 cricket. But I do feel in the last sort of 5 years, there has been more orthodox off spinners doing well in the T20 leagues around the world. So yeah, I definitely think in terms of white ball cricket, there's space for them. But you certainly can't be predictable. You need to make sure that you've got something in your armory that keeps the batter guessing, because if you're going to run up and put 6 balls in the same spot, you're going to travel. And so you need to find ways to make it work in the shorter formats of the game, because with all these leagues, with all the competition, the guys are getting better and better and moving the game forward and introducing new shots and tactics and whatever the case may be. I mean, it's now kind of the norm that a spinner bowls the first over of a T20 game, where 2 or 3 years ago that might not have been the case. It was kind of like just try and get an over out the way, whereas the frontline spinners are now bowling in the power play. So the dynamic is constantly changing, and you're having to sort of constantly evolve with that as well. And I think that's the challenge of white ball cricket. Red ball cricket is very traditional. You've got to be as accurate as you possibly can, where T20 cricket is changing. And those are the sort of the challenges that bring the excitement into sort of change of formats.
Definitely. I mean, look what Glenn Maxwell did the other day. 154, something ridiculous. So yes, it looks like
he's a freak.
It is. But again, often referred to that on my talks, that just shows how unique cricket is, because the game has expanded. It's kept its traditions, but it's still growing and developing. And it's actually unique. And not many sports can actually do that and play so many different ways of it. It's, all different formats. You know what I'm trying to say? So, that's excellent. Yeah. Well, Simon, it's been really good to chat to you, but as we sort of draw towards an end, where are you currently right now? What's happening? I'm sure you've got quite a few fixtures coming up.
Yeah, so we just got to Bloem today. We start a 4-day game on Thursday against the Knights, which should be a good challenge. They've built a really strong squad over the last couple of years, with Pat van Bouillon in the helm and Alan Donald coming back from overseas, and JP Trigard, who's been doing some good work as well. So it's going to be a tough 4 days here in Bloem. It's bloody hot. I think when we got out the combis, it was about 34 degrees. So it's going to be a sweltering sort of 4 days, and then at the end of next week we move into the T20 bubble, which is going to be played in Port Elizabeth.
Okay.
So looking forward to that. Played a little bit of cricket at St George's Park, so hopefully we can sort of exploit those conditions and try and have a successful competition. But that's kind of what the next sort of 4 to 6 weeks look like.
Excellent. Well, Simon, going to be watching you with close attention, because it's been really good to chat to you. And I think you add value to cricket. Doesn't matter who you're playing for, and it's good to have you in South Africa. And wishing you well for the rest of the season, and obviously when you go back to play for Essex, man. So wishing you well. Thank you so much for your time, Simon. Class act. Have a good one. All the best.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks so much to the Sports Editor for you guys for having me. I appreciate your time.
Lekker, my man. Simon, when this is up.